Hey, everybody. Today I'm going to talk to you about how to get in the frame from the perspective of audio. And the way I'm going to do that is through three things: how to get in the frame of a song, how to get in the frame of your equipment overall, and how to get in the frame specifically of your headphones or speakers. Now, why this is important is because you want to listen to a song with purpose. At least I do. That purpose might be listening for reference. You know, if you're a producer, if you're an editor, listening listening critically. That's where you want to hear every detail as accurately as possible. Or you might be just listening for entertainment. You might be listening solo or as a group, right? It's all different. Listen with purpose, and there's a lot. Just like anything, there's the right tools for the right job. If you're listening in all these different scenarios, they all require different tools, frankly, in my opinion, to be done properly. That's for sure. So, how to get in the frame of a song overall, okay? You need to give the song a chance to kind of take over your body and mind for a moment, because the song essentially is, first of all, it in itself a moment in time. A song can only be captured at one point in time the way it is. Otherwise, it would be different. It's a certain set of people at a certain moment, certain artists at a certain time with a certain voice. Everything's different as time changes. And it's capturing that. So try to give it the respect to get in the frame. And the first thing to do there is to simply let it rock, man. Let the song rock. What I mean by that is just kind of focus on the song. Maybe close your eyes. It really helps to close your eyes, at first, at least. But let the song. Don't judge the song up front. Try to listen to it with fresh ears, especially would help. And what comes to mind is something like listening to old songs like Michael Jackson. For example, from the 70s or 80s, or even Thriller, one of the most highly well-produced albums of all time, still sounds thin compared to music today produced for $1,000 because it has way more dynamic range, way easier. And I can get into that a little later, maybe. But in the song, you want to listen to it and allow yourself to not judge the song. Let it start to play. And what's going to happen is, after about 60 seconds of focusing on the song and really trying to start to listen to each instrument and the details, you will be, hopefully after 60 seconds, I can get in the frame of the song. It might take you a little longer. But what that allows you to do is really allow yourself to hear the lows as low, the highs as high, the details as detailed. It will allow yourself to hear the song as the artists and the producers meant you to hear it. If you listen to like hip hop that's made in 2025, and then you listen to some older song that's made 20 or 30 years ago, you're going to be like, there's no bass in this, really easily, if you're not in the frame of the song. You see? If you can't get in the frame of the song, you won't be able to enjoy the song. Because you're going to be, if you're like me and, an audio guy or whatever, into this stuff, and you're able to say, oh yeah, God, the dynamic range is so thin. And they use 3 separate tape recorders, as far as I know, on the Thriller album, for example, to get extra dynamic range, triple dynamic range. And it still sounds thin compared to today, right? However, when I listen to Thriller, I'm in the frame. That shit bangs. So, especially on my speakers and on my nice speakers and in my relatively treated room that's quiet. So, maybe I'll get into more details of that specifically later, but let's move on for now. Specifically with headphones, okay? how to get in the frame of your headphones. Headphones are great for getting in the frame of a song. Why? Because they kind of don't allow you to get it wrong. Because they're positioning two speakers directly in front of your ear, right aligned with it, right? Unlike speakers in front of you, which have a sweet spot, the speakers basically don't have a sweet spot unless you're wearing the headphones wrong. Okay, make sure you're wearing the headphones properly. These headphones are the Sony MDR M1s, which are a basically fuller, basically a fuller sounding Sony MDR 7506, which are like $100. These are like $200 or something. They sound a bit better, but I wore the Sony 7506s for years and years and years in a row, and they're still used today. But I say that to explain that listening to things on this is way, way different than listening to things on the 7506, which is half the cost or what I used to have. If I were to mix something on this and then go to that, I might hear things that are wrong. Maybe there's too much mid-range or highs. Maybe the voice is too brought out, like way too loud. The voice in the mix or something, or the music is way too loud. The music might appear way too loud on the 7506s versus these, like music in a mix of video, for example. Because there's way more bass here, and I might treat the bass different here. Especially, you see how this issue gets exacerbated as you get to different crazy headphones or more expensive headphones with more bass and stuff like that. I have headphones with way more bass than this, than this, even, that really would expose a lot more frequencies. I mean, fundamentally, every headphone that you listen to has a different has different audio characteristics, sonic characteristics. Also, sound is completely personal and perceptive overall, okay? So kind of everything I'm saying, put it with the grain of salt. Sound is completely personal to your biology because it's literally going through your body. I mean, especially if your hearing is degraded, your frequency response is different. So it's different for everybody. I'm blessed to still have perfect hearing. But if you don't have perfect hearing, then your frequency response is different than everyone else. So you see, there's always that's the grain of salt with this to understand. However, barring that, which we're basically considering that neutral, right? Understand that different headphones sound different, and when you want to listen to something for entertainment, you might want more bass and more treble, usually. Especially like the high mids, that's where the voice is. Or like a guitar, high mids, the lead guitar. And obviously the bass is like the bass. Sounds good. Versus the 7506s are flatter. So it might be, so for example, if you're mixing a podcast with just voice and maybe no music, especially like just voice, no music, just spoken word, like an audio book, 7506 could work well. But that said, I would always rather put that through some speakers if possible. And we'll talk about that next. So speakers are one of my favorite things in the entire world, to be honest with you. I love speakers. I probably have 30 speakers, 30 speaker units, 60 something, 70 something woofers, because speakers are like tools for an audio technician like me. You need different tools for different jobs. I'm definitely not always trying to just rock out with the way I'm listening. I'm mostly listening critically, and because I've been listening critically for so long, for about 15 to 17 years, I've been editing audio in a professional environment or video. I kind of like that method of listening, honestly, which could be considered, I guess, an audiophile thing, meaning it's not really what most people do. Most people just want it to sound good, quote, and what that means to them is usually good bass and like a clear vocal and guitar, like something like a guitar or whatever the lead instruments are. Clarity, good bass. That's what the consumer wants. That's what AirPods sound like. Clarity, good bass, nothing else though. No detail, not a lot of detail, not a lot of balance, but it has clarity and good bass, and for that reason, it sounds good to most people. Even to me, especially nowadays. Sometimes AirPods are fine for me, but I would sure as hell never edit a video that I was going to produce on it. That'd be crazy. That's almost as crazy as using a MacBook speakers to edit on. When you put that mix through a car, it's going to sound terrible. Unless you had a perfect recording environment, which almost nobody does. Even professional recording studios don't really even have professional recording. I mean, people. There's multi-platinum songs that are recorded in bedrooms today. So you don't even need a real studio anymore. But even like really good studios with millions of dollars of equipment still don't have perfect sound environments sometimes. It's in New York City sometimes. You get a fire truck going through on the mix. They keep it. They use AI to get rid of it. It's very common. Very, very common. And in movies, it's even more common. So kind of following up here, and making sure that we're getting through this. This is why if you listen on a bad speaker, like an iPhone speaker right here, like an iPhone, just taking your iPhone, listening on the speaker. If you listen to a song like that, which is one of the lowest quality ways you could possibly listen to a song. I mean, yeah. After a while, maybe 15, 20 minutes for me. I mean, or longer for me because I hate it. But after a while, I'm just saying, everybody, after a while, if you listen to it, focus on it again, let it get in the frame, let yourself get in the frame of it. That even that iPhone, you will start to say, oh, I hear some good bass in this song. No, you don't. No, you don't. But you do. You see? You see what I'm saying? There's no bass coming out of that iPhone. There's no sound pressure. Yeah, there's bass, and maybe if you put it up to your ear, almost like an earphone, you could create some more. But even up there, it doesn't have the extension down. I bet those speakers don't even physically go lower than 80 hertz or something like that, or 100 hertz, even maybe even higher. Now it does sound good for a phone. Don't get me wrong, but yeah, even if you listen on a bad speaker like that, eventually, if you can get in the frame of it, you can enjoy it, and you can even use it, right? You can use the way it's. You want to know how it sounds on an iPhone. I want to know when I'm producing audio, when I'm producing a video, how does it sound on an iPhone? Because a lot of people are gonna listen like that. I want to know, and I listen, and I know, and I find out. I am a freak about quality control, and I check on 20 devices sometimes, one video. So, and I'll explain that in another video. Wrapping up here, okay? This is the last thing. This advice should be reversed for critical listening if you're really serious. So, the getting in the frame thing I'm talking about should be reversed. Why? If you are critically listening to a song, such as being a mixing engineer or mastering engineer or something like that you're mixing, you need to hear detail. Well, see, when you're making the song, like making the beat and stuff, you don't need to hear. It's not about detail at that point. It's about making the song. You can blast your ears out if you want. I mean, I wouldn't still, but you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter really. You want to make the song. But once you're mixing, first of all, that's a totally different guy, totally different person guy or girl for a reason, because because that person's a specialist. They're hopefully preserving their hearing, and they listen at a certain volume. Definitely, I'll listen on certain speakers. And the technique, the thing that should be reversed here of getting in the frame. What does that mean? Reverse getting in the frame. Don't just not get in the frame. What you're doing is you're making sure you're coming in fresh if you want to listen critically. Getting in the frame is about allowing the bad speakers to be fine, and I don't care. I'm just going to enjoy this. All right, it's all good. I'm going to enjoy it. Right? Let it rock. Get in the frame of it. Enjoy it. Feel the lows, even though they're not that low. Let yourself forget that. That's getting in the frame. Reverse that means you're coming in fresh, like not hearing anything all day, and then listening to the whole mix right there, the most important thing of the day, right there, first. Listen to that thing first. Fresh ears, off sleep, right? Protect your hearing. Okay, you need to protect your hearing when you do this stuff too. Not protecting your hearing and trying to mix music is like being really, really, really overweight and being a cyclist and not understanding that losing that weight will help you go faster more than anything, right? So come in fresh, avoid ear fatigue. That's what I'm saying here. How do you avoid ear fatigue? Well, don't go to things like concerts with ears unprotected a lot. Get ear protection. There's really a lot of advanced ways to get ear protection nowadays. There's no excuse. There's really cool ways, a lot of colors and stuff like that. Okay, I have custom in-ear protection that I've been wearing for over 10 years, and saved my hearing. And it does not change the experience going to a concert, by the way. Maybe I'll talk about that in another video. So not all speakers are equal for ear fatigue. My speakers, my favorite pair of speakers is called the Adam A7X, and it has something called a ribbon tweeter. A ribbon tweeter, instead of using a dome tweeter like most speakers, it uses a ribbon, which is basically a sheet of metal, that they take and then they fold it like a zigzag, like that, right? And it creates a situation where by exciting that surface to create the sound wave, they have more surface area to work with, and that allows them to use less power to emit the same SPL. It's very cool. It's very, very cool. And you can hear a huge difference. You hear a huge difference between ribbon tweeters and dome tweeters. And the dome tweeter will wear out your ear faster than the ribbon. That's why I love them so much. But sometimes you want to listen to the dome tweeters and understand what those sound like. They sound a little harsher, a little tinnier, because they literally are like aluminum, usually. I believe my my ribbon tweeter, it's gold plated for sure, so the surface is gold. But I think it's some type of alloy, aluminum alloy. That's the actual material there. Anyway, you get less fatigue from the ribbon tweeter, so look into that if you're looking at ear fatigue. Yeah, all speakers are not equal, guys. Understand that different speakers and different headphones have different sounds, and I just want you to listen with purpose and get more out of your audio. I've talked a lot in this one about this. I think I've exhausted this. Besides the sweet spot, understand that speakers have that sweet spot. Remember, headphones don't. That's a big plus. If you're in a terrible environment for audio, like a house with a lot of family or something, dogs and cats running around, get headphones. It'll sound way better than listening to all that background noise. I'll explain that too one day. that signal to noise ratio, so to speak, but for listening, not just on the mic, right? All right, guys. If you have any questions, drop them in the comments. Thanks for listening. Appreciate it. And I will see you in the next video. Peace.